Silence makes people nervous, not because it's empty, but because it forces meaning. Psychologists say the person who speaks less often controls the emotional direction of the room. And in the next few seconds, I'll show you why that's uncomfortable and powerful. Why it matters. Because silence silently shapes how people judge your intelligence, confidence, emotional control, and social dominance, often more than your words ever could. Silence isn't passive. It's a psychological tool that shifts power, creates discomfort, and forces others to reveal themselves while you stay protected. So instead of talking about silence in theory, let's break it down into the specific moments where it actually gives you leverage, the everyday situations where saying less quietly changes the outcome. 1. Social gravity. Silence creates weight. When you don't rush to fill space, people lean in, mentally and emotionally. The brain is wired to seek resolution, and silence delays it. That delay makes you feel important. Example: you answer a question in a meeting, then stop. No rambling, no justification. Everyone waits. Consequence: silence triggers cognitive tension, increasing attention and perceived authority. Fix: say your point, then stop talking one sentence earlier than feels comfortable. 2. The listening advantage. Silent people learn more. They hear what's being said, but more importantly, they hear what's not being said. Tone shifts, hesitations, word choice, body language, all the subtext that talkers miss because they're too busy preparing their next sentence. Example: you're in a meeting. 2 colleagues are debating an idea. You stay quiet, just observing. One of them keeps glancing at the boss before speaking. The other fidgets when challenged. You now know who's confident and who's performing. That information is leverage. Consequence: while everyone else was talking, you were gathering intelligence. Studies show that people who talk less in group settings are often perceived as more thoughtful and observant, and they usually are. Fix: in your next conversation, challenge yourself to ask 3 questions before making 1 statement. 3. Frame control. The person who fills silence usually loses control of the frame. Why? Because filling silence is often driven by anxiety, and anxiety makes people explain, justify, soften, and retreat. Silence forces others to carry the weight of the interaction. Example: someone criticizes your idea. You pause. They start clarifying what they really meant. Consequence: silence activates self-monitoring circuits, increasing self-doubt in others. Fix: when challenged, pause for 3 full seconds before responding. 4. Reactivity versus response. Reacting is emotional. Responding is strategic. When you react instantly, you're operating from your amygdala, the emotional, impulsive part of your brain. You're predictable, easy to manipulate. When you pause, you give your prefrontal cortex time to engage. That's where logic lives, where strategy happens. Example: your ex texts you something hurtful. Every cell in your body wants to fire back immediately. Instead, you don't respond for 48 hours. By then, the emotional charge is gone. You either respond calmly or don't respond at all. Consequence: that pause saved you from saying something you'd regret. Studies show that emotional reactivity makes you appear less competent and less trustworthy. People respect the person who stays calm more than the person who wins the argument. Fix: if it makes you angry, don't respond for at least 1 hour. 5. Emotional regulation. Most talking during conflict isn't communication, it's emotional discharge. Silence interrupts that loop. It slows your heart rate. It steadies your nervous system. This isn't repression, this is restraint. Example: someone insults you. You feel the surge. Anger, defense, ego. You don't speak. The moment passes. Consequence: silence lowers amygdala activation and restores prefrontal control. Fix: when emotional, delay speech until your breath slows. 6. The power shift. Silence forces the other person to lead, and whoever leads the conversation reveals their strategy first. In sales, in arguments, in any negotiation, the person asking questions controls the frame. The person answering is playing defense. Example: someone insults you in a group setting. Everyone waits for your reaction. Instead of clapping back immediately, you just look at them, smile slightly, say nothing. The room gets uncomfortable. They start backtracking. "I was just kidding, man. Relax." You didn't defend yourself. You made them defend their attack. Consequence: by staying silent, you flipped the script. They had to justify themselves. You revealed their insecurity without saying a word. Fix: when someone tries to provoke you, count to 5 before responding. 7. Unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. Silence breaks prediction. When people can't read you, they hesitate, and hesitation creates leverage. Noise reveals patterns. Silence erases them. Example: someone expects immediate agreement. You pause. They suddenly renegotiate. Consequence: uncertainty increases vigilance and attention toward you. Fix: delay responses to requests, even small ones. 8. The discomfort reflex. Most people can't handle silence for more than 3 seconds. It triggers something primal, an anxiety response. Your brain interprets social silence as rejection or threat, so you rush to fill it with noise. And that's exactly when you lose control. Example: you're in a negotiation. You state your price. The other person just stares at you, says nothing. 5 seconds pass. You panic and immediately lower your offer. They never even countered. Consequence: your discomfort reflex just cost you money. When you break silence first, you reveal what you're willing to compromise on before the other person shows their hand. Fix: count to 10 in your head before you respond to anything uncomfortable. 9. Silence versus avoidance. Silence is not avoidance. Avoidance is fear-driven disappearance. Silence is presence without reaction. One drains power, the other stores it. Many people aren't silent, they're scared. Example: you avoid a difficult conversation for weeks. That's avoidance. You pause before having it. That's silence. Consequence: intentional silence strengthens self-trust. Avoidance reinforces anxiety loops. Fix: ask yourself, am I pausing or escaping? 10. Strategic withholding. You don't owe everyone an immediate response. Not to texts, not to questions, not to demands for your attention. Every time you respond instantly, you train people that you're always available, that your time has no boundary, that they don't need to respect your attention. Example: your boss messages you at 11 p.m. with a non-urgent question. You respond immediately. Now they expect it every time. 6 months later, you're answering work messages at midnight because you set that precedent. Consequence: immediate availability kills your perceived value. When you're always accessible, people assume you have nothing better to do. Psychologists call this the scarcity principle. The harder something is to access, the more people want it. Fix: delay your response by at least the amount of time it would take you to be doing something meaningful. 11. Perceived intelligence. Studies show people who speak less are often judged as smarter. Not because they are smarter, but because restraint signals cognitive filtering. The brain equates fewer words with deeper thought. talking nonstop feels impulsive. Example: two people answer the same question. One rambles, one answers cleanly and stops. The room trusts the second. Consequence: concise speech signals high executive function. Fix: mentally cut 30% of what you want to say. 12. The confession trigger. Interrogators know this. Therapists know this. Manipulators definitely know this. If you stay quiet long enough, people will confess things you never asked about. It's called the cognitive load of silence. The pressure to fill dead air becomes so overwhelming that people start volunteering information just to relieve the tension. Example: your partner says, "I was out with friends." You don't respond, just make eye contact. 3 seconds later, "Just Sarah and Mike, we went to that bar downtown, the one on 5th, we left at like 10:30, I swear." You didn't accuse them of anything, they accused themselves. Consequence: silence forces people to over-explain, and over-explanation is almost always a sign of guilt or anxiety. Fix: when someone gives you unnecessary detail, stay quiet for 2 more seconds. 13. Truth pressure. Silence is brutal for liars. Lying requires cognitive control. Silence increases mental load, and under load, people leak. Truth doesn't rush. Lies do. Example: you ask a simple question, then wait. They keep talking and reveal more than intended. Consequence: silence increases cognitive strain, reducing deception accuracy. Fix: after asking a question, count to 5 internally. 14. Emotional projection. When you go silent, people fill the void with their own fears. They project onto you. They assume you're angry, disappointed, calculating, or judging them. And here's the kicker: you don't even have to be thinking about them at all. Example: your friend texts you something controversial. Normally, you'd respond in 2 minutes. This time, you wait 6 hours. When you finally reply casually, they've already sent 3 follow-up messages apologizing and explaining themselves. Consequence: your silence created an entire narrative in their head. They revealed their insecurities, their guilt, their priorities. You learned everything without asking a single question. Fix: when someone overreacts to your silence, pay attention to what they reveal. 15. Directional silence. Not all silence is the same. Warm silence feels safe. Cold silence feels corrective. Same tool, different intention. Silence communicates emotion without words. Example: a child misbehaves. You don't yell. You go quiet. They feel it. Consequence: silence heightens social consequence awareness. Fix: decide the emotional tone of your silence. 16. Silence as boundary. Every time you explain yourself when you don't owe an explanation, you weaken your position. No is a complete sentence. So is silence. When you justify every decision, every absence, every choice you make, you're asking for permission. You're treating your boundaries like they need approval. Example: someone asks why you can't make their event. You start listing reasons. I have this thing, and also I'm really tired, and I have work early the next day, and they interrupt. Come on, just for an hour? Now you're negotiating your own boundary. Consequence: over-justification signals that your boundary isn't firm. It invites pushback. It tells people that if they argue hard enough, you'll fold. Fix: say, "I can't make it," and then stop talking. 17. Silence as self-respect. Over-explaining is insecurity leaking. Silence says, "I trust myself." You clarify once. Then you stop chasing understanding. That's grounded confidence. You don't need to defend yourself to everyone who questions you. You don't need to prove your worth to people who already decided you're worthless. You don't need to explain your choices to people who wouldn't respect them anyway. Some battles aren't worth the breath. Example: someone criticizes your life choices on social media. You could write a paragraph defending yourself, or you could keep scrolling. 6 months from now, you won't even remember their name. Consequence: every time you argue with someone who doesn't respect you, you're giving them your energy, your peace, your power. Silence is choosing yourself. Fix: ask this before responding to criticism. Will this person's opinion matter in a year? 18. Selective expression. Silence teaches discernment. Not everyone deserves your thoughts. Not every emotion needs expression. Privacy is power. Oversharing weakens leverage. Example: you stop narrating your plans to everyone. Results speak instead. Consequence: selective expression strengthens boundary awareness. Fix: ask, does this need to be said or felt privately? 19. The intimidation factor. Silence makes people nervous, especially people who rely on charm, manipulation, or social performance. When you don't laugh at their jokes, don't fill their pauses, don't validate their stories, you become unpredictable, unreadable. And that's threatening to people who need constant feedback. Example: someone's trying to impress you with an exaggerated story. Everyone else is laughing and reacting. You just nod slightly, expression neutral. They start stumbling over their words, adding more details, trying harder. You didn't say they were lying. Your silence did it for you. Consequence: your lack of reaction revealed their performance. They became self-conscious. Studies in social psychology show that people mirror the energy they receive. When you withhold yours, they scramble. Fix: when someone's trying too hard for your approval, give them less reaction than they expect. 20. Presence amplifier. Silence sharpens awareness. You notice tone, posture, energy. You stop preparing replies and start observing reality. That's presence. Presence is magnetic. Example: you listen fully without interrupting. People feel seen and talk more. Consequence: reduced cognitive noise enhances situational awareness. Fix: listen to understand, not to respond. 21. Silence as rejection. Not responding is a response. It's one of the most powerful ones you have. When someone doesn't deserve your energy, your explanation, your time, silence communicates that without cruelty or confrontation. Example: someone who disrespected you keeps texting like nothing happened. You could write out exactly why you're done with them, or you could just not respond, ever. They'll get the message, eventually. Consequence: your silence is a closed door. It doesn't need a speech. Psychologists note that ghosting in certain contexts is actually a form of self-protection, not immaturity. Sometimes people don't deserve closure from you. Fix: if someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, stop explaining why you're upset. 22. Ego discipline. The ego wants the last word. Silence denies it. That denial builds discipline, and discipline builds long-term power. Winning moments feels good. Winning trajectories feels better. Example: you let a petty comment slide. Days later, you gain respect. Consequence: impulse inhibition strengthens long-term reward pathways. Fix: Choose long-term respect over short-term validation. 23. The mystery factor. The less you say, the more interesting you become. People are drawn to mystery, to gaps in information. It's why cliffhangers work, why people stalk social media profiles, why the quiet person in the room suddenly becomes fascinating. Over-explaining makes you predictable. Silence makes you complex. Real-life example. You're at a social gathering. Someone asks what you do. Instead of launching into your entire career history, you say, "I work in psychology." Then stop. No elaboration. They'll ask 3 follow-up questions because you didn't give them the full story. Consequence, you controlled the conversation by withholding. They became more interested because you didn't volunteer everything. Psychologists call this the information gap theory. People are motivated to close gaps in knowledge. Fix? Answer questions with 20% less detail than you think you should. Taken together, these moments might look small, but when you see them as a pattern, something becomes clear. Silence isn't passive at all. It's a consistent psychological advantage used with intention. Silence creates gravity. It controls frames. It regulates emotion. It exposes truth. It protects self-respect. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's boundary. It's power. The people who talk the most are usually the ones with the least to say. The ones who stay quiet are listening, learning, and deciding who deserves their words. Here's the truth psychologists won't always tell you. Your silence can be more devastating than anything you say, because it forces people to sit with themselves, to confront the noise in their own heads, to realize that you're not playing their game. And that makes you dangerous. If you watched this far, you already know silence is a weapon. Now use it. Subscribe if you want more psychology that actually matters, not the feel-good stuff, the real patterns, the uncomfortable truths. And if you've been talking too much when you should have been listening, start practicing today. Because the next time someone tries to bait you, provoke you, or demand an explanation you don't owe, say nothing. Watch what happens.